Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and I hope everyone is doing okay amid this coronavirus crisis that we're all sort of dealing with right now. Since we're all on lockdown, this particular video really goes out to the tabletop gamers that can't get out to play with their regular gaming group. A lot of them are probably wondering, how do I get my fix now that I'm on lockdown? Who do I play with? Me, not so much. I'm not someone that likes to play with complete strangers, but there are a lot of social people out there that like to get together with different people and play tabletop games, and this video is geared more toward them. Again, they're probably wondering, well, how do I get my fix? I'm on lockdown. Well, there are a ton of digital tabletop games out there that you can play online with other people, and they are just as good, if not more so, than the actual tabletop game. Digital games streamline the rules for you. They make cleanup a whole lot easier. So, yeah, I mean, some are not so good, but others are pretty good. So, this list is mainly just a quick list of 10 tabletop digital games that I'm going to recommend for you folks to check out so that you can get your fix in the meantime while we're dealing with all of this. Now, this list is by no means a true top 10. I don't consider these 10 games to be the cream of the crop. I've got 45 digital games or so that are actually based on tabletop games, and I enjoy almost all of them. So this list of 10 is just the top 10 that I kind of liked more so than the others, but there are some that I left off the list that I really wish I could have mentioned, but just didn't have the time to do. I mean, to pull all the footage and talk about each game would take a lot of time. But with that being said, if you guys like this top 10 list, I'll go ahead and create another top 10 or just a future top 10 list that would go into other digital games that I didn't cover. But we'll see how this video does, and I'll go from there. So without further ado, enjoy the show. Okay, so the first digital tabletop game that I wanted to touch on is Through the Ages. This is a fantastic digital tabletop game. Have not played the actual board game, but I like the digital because this is quite a thinky game. There are a lot of rules. This is basically Civilization, the board game, if it were streamlined into a 2-hour experience, though I'm sure you could play it a lot faster if you knew what you were doing. You're going to be leveling up your civilization by playing different cards. There's some card drafting involved. You're going to be increasing your military might. You're going to be constructing buildings that will provide you more resources and population. And your ultimate goal is to create a civilization that will best your opponent. And you'll get victory points based on how well you do that. So, Through the Ages, excellent game. Go check it out. The second game I wanted to talk about was Lords of Waterdeep. Now, I do own the tabletop game for this one, and I enjoy it just as much as the digital one. And the digital one, like I said, will make things a bit easier to maintain. This is a worker placement game set in the Dungeons & Dragons universe, but don't worry, you don't need to know anything about Dungeons & Dragons in order to play this game. Primarily, it's a worker placement game. You get 3 or 4 workers, you put them on the table in different spots, you're collecting people, different types of classes of people like clerics or warriors, whatnot, in order to complete the quest cards that you're going to be drawing. You can also play these intrigue cards that do special things, but your ultimate goal is to complete quests and to get as many victory points as possible. So Lords of Waterdeep, excellent worker placement game. Go check that one out. One Deck Dungeon. Oof, Dice. Dice and I don't generally get along, but I do enjoy this experience. This is a dice builder of sorts, in the sense that you've got a hero, you're going to go dungeon delving, and you've got a couple of dice that you're going to bring with you, but as you loot and get better weapons or better skills, you're going to be adding more dice to your dice pool. So your character is going to be getting stronger as you continue playing this game. And at the end of the run is a huge boss that will more than likely wipe the floor with you your first couple of times out. But it is incredibly fun. It's a really thinky dice rolling, dice assignment game. I've got to figure out, okay, I'm going to put my dice here, these blue dice here, these purple dice here, to mitigate damage as much as possible anyway, and with my ultimate goal of completing the run before I die. One Deck Dungeon, great game. Splendor, one of my all-time favorite tabletop games. It also has a digital counterpart, obviously. This is a Tableau engine builder where you're going to be collecting tokens of different colors or different gems of different colors. You're going to be spending those gems to earn cards. Those cards will act as assets and they will give you value toward a particular color. And you can use those values in addition to your gems to acquire future cards. So it's engine building. You're going to be building your tableau with various asset cards, gem cards, whatever they're called. And you're going to be collecting even better cards in order to get a certain number of victory points before your opponent does. There are also these noble cards that you can collect, assuming that you get the correct colors as you're acquiring these cards. So Splendor, great introductory engine building game. Stockpile, a favorite of mine. I love Stockpile. It's an economic game, but it's not one that takes 6 hours to play. Stockpile is based off of the stock market. You're going to be trying to predict what the different companies are going to do every round, whether they're going to go up in value or down in value. You're going to be trying to bid for various stock cards of different colors, and those colors will represent the companies that are in the game. And your ultimate goal is to try and, figure out what companies are going to go up, what are going to go down, when to sell, when to buy, how to outbid your opponent. There are so many different rounds and different phases of this game, but it's not a crazy hard game to learn. Everything flows together very well to the point where you can learn it within a couple of play sessions. So this is a great light to moderate economic game involving the stock market. Go check this one out for sure. It's wonderful, fantastic, and I love playing it. Sagrada. This just recently became digital on Steam and other places. Sagrada is a dice rolling, dice drafting, dice placement game. You're basically building a stained glass window in like a church, and you're going to be using dice of various colors to seed into this window. But there are placement rules, like you can't put the same color next to each other or the same die value next to each other. So you have to think about these things as you're putting these dice down. Your opponent and you have different personal goals that you're going after. There are public goals to go after. There are tools to help you break the standard rules. So if you like dice rolling, dice drafting, and dice placement, Sagrada is both beautiful and strategic. Go check that one out. Terraforming Mars is another engine builder. You and your opponents are going to be working together to terraform Mars, and the game ends whenever you terraform it across 3 categories. Whenever you completely get its water value to where it needs to be, its oxygen value where it needs to be, and its temperature value where it needs to be. And depending on how well you do that will determine who wins the game. You earn victory points in a lot of different ways by putting greenery tiles down, city tiles down. There are goals that you can invest in order to gain some points that way. Again, you can play cards that have victory points printed on them that also give you special effects during the game that help you build your engine in terms of power and heat and different things like that. So Terraforming Mars, I would call a moderate engine builder. It's going to take you a couple of tries to get used to how the game is played, but once you get into it, man, it is a fantastic game. Highly recommend Terraforming Mars. I would consider Ticket to Ride to be a pretty good gateway game into some of the more complicated games out on the market. You're just simply drawing cards of particular colors. You're going to be handing those cards in order to lay trains down onto the board, and you get victory points for doing that. The draw of this game is that you're also getting these ticket cards that you're keeping hidden from other players. They contain routes. You're going to be trying to complete these routes before the end of the game. If you do, you'll get the victory points listed on them. If you don't, those victory points are subtracted from your final score. So you're trying to complete lines throughout the game, but you're also trying to complete these routes that you have hidden from other players, and it becomes a real play for space as all of these different cities and all these different lines start forming on the board. And it's a fantastic, easy-to-play game, Ticket to Ride. If you've got a family, more than likely you'll love it. Go check it out. Carcass N. This is a tile laying game. You draw a tile, you place a tile. That's it. How well you do this will determine how many points you get. in order to get points in this game, you're going to be laying down your meeples onto various parts of the board. If you lay a meeple onto a road, it becomes a thief. If you completely, well, close off that road, then you can pick that thief back up and earn points based on how long the road is. If you place a meeple onto a castle, if you close off the castle, you can pick that meeple back up, put it back into your pool, and you earn points based on how big the castle is. You see where I'm going with this. Pick up a tile, place a tile, very simple, but how you place your meeples onto the playing area as it begins forming is the strategic part of this game and will determine the winner. So it's easy to play, but it's still very thinky. So Carcass N, go check that one out. Small World. This is not a game I would recommend to everyone. This game has take that mechanics in the sense that you're going to be conquering lands that other people have currently occupied and vice versa. What's cool about this game is that you get a race and you get a trait. You mash them together and they each have something special that contributes to the race that you currently have. And you're trying to lay them down in such a way that caters to their trait and to their race's power. Now, over time, your race is going to be conquered by other people, so you can turn them in, set them in decline, and then pick a whole new trait, a whole new race, mash them together, and have at it again. So, like I said, because there's a lot of take that and conquering, I don't recommend this to very competitive people, but it's a classic that I would still recommend regardless. And there you have it, a quick list of 10 tabletop digital games I thought you guys would enjoy. Like I said, this is not a definitive list. If you guys like this video, if I see a lot of feedback, a lot of views, I'll go ahead and create another video that features another 10 digital games that I think are worth your time. So, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Stay safe.